How much should I pay my advisor? This one should be very helpful for the viewers here to make sure they're paying the right amount of fee when working with a financial planner. And so I'm going to walk you through some of the industry averages when it comes to the fees, but also talk you through the type of fees you need to understand, but also what to be aware of to see if your advisor is actually getting that fee, or maybe they're saying they're doing all these things, but they're not actually doing it to do the fee. So we're going to talk through the ways to make sure that you're not missing anything. So when you are paying for that professional advice, you're getting everything that you expect and not getting overcharged, but also getting all the services that should be involved with that fee. So let's get started here. So as you can see up on my screen here, here is the average cost, the average AUM, which means assets under management fees for financial advisors in our industry. And now, obviously there's gonna be a range of AUM fees based on the type of services people deliver, but this is an average that you can expect. And so with this chart, you gotta go based on what your asset size is. So as you see, the more assets you have, the lower cost you're going to pay, and that's what you're going to see with most firms that you go to work with. And so let's just target this $1 to $2 million range. You're going to see that the average AUM fee is 0.85%. Now, people think, well, 0.85%, that's all I pay. Well, no, there's actually added cost to that many people aren't aware of. That's what we're going to educate you on. And as you can see, the underlying fee there is 0.65%. So that can come from platform fees, that can come from internal expenses, trading costs, there's all these different types of fees that could be associated with that. And we're going to break all those down for you to make sure you know what to look for. But as you see there, your only fee is 8.85%. I don't think that's true. It actually is about 1.5% is the industry average for $1 to $2 million. And so as you can see here, based on your situation, is what those fees could look like. So you've always heard the 1%, my advisor charges 1%. You hear that everywhere, and that may be true for their management fee, but what are the added costs in addition to that? So let's break this down a little bit more so you have a better idea of what you should be looking at paying. In our opinion, most people should pay an average all-in cost of about 1% on the total assets that the advisor is managing. And so that factors in internal expenses and all of that. The total management fee that you're paying should be about 1% or less is what our recommendation is. And so if your advisor is truly doing that and they're delivering on all 5 pillars of financial planning, which is tax planning, which many advisors do not do, income planning, investment planning, which is manage your investments, healthcare planning, planning for long-term care and Medicare, and estate planning. Are they helping ensure and educate you on what documents you need to look to get done? Are they planning for the money to go to your spouse or to your kids in the most tax-efficient way? All of these things need to play together. And if you only have an advisor that's doing one of the 5, I'm going to tell you that they probably shouldn't be getting 1% fee. They probably should be getting much lower. And so something we tell a lot of people that work with us is, or looking to work with us is, look, you're paying an advisor 1% right now, and all they're doing is investment management. So we tell them, here's the 2 things that you should be looking at doing. One is you just need to part ways with that advisor, and you need to go do this on your own, because you can find either a robo-advisor, or you can go to Vanguard or somewhere else where you can pay much less, probably even half of that or less, just to get investment management. You may not get the other pillars, but if that's not important to you, and investment management is the only thing you want, and you want it done professionally, which I would advise everyone should do, well, then just go somewhere to get it done at a lower cost. Don't pay a full fee for 1 out of the 5 pillars. Is that something we really want to educate people on to make sure that they understand? Now, if you're looking for someone to do those 5 pillars, that 1% fee could pay someone to do that type of thing. So what we would tell you is, hey, leave that current advisor, go work with someone, whether it's us or someone like us that does this type of planning, to ensure you're not missing anything, to ensure you're getting the full value of the fee you're paying. But if they're just doing investment management for 1%, we don't have time for that. I think that is ridiculous. I think that is not a good look for our industry. And if you're working with someone like that, I would tell you to leave and go find someone who's doing better work. No matter how long your relationship's been, no matter how much you trust them, they're just not getting the job done, in my opinion. They're overcharging for a simple service that can be done for much, much less. So let's talk about how advisors are able to charge more than that assets under management fee that we're talking about here. So one is what's called just a planning fee, and this is something that our firm does not charge. Some firms will, on top of their assets under management fee, they'll say, hey, because we're doing those other 4 pillars, you need to pay us an extra fee on top of assets under management. I don't necessarily believe that's true. I think that assets under management should pay for comprehensive financial planning. And so that's my recommendation for you too, as well, is to make sure you're not paying a planning fee if it doesn't make sense. If someone's going to charge a lesser AUM fee and then charge a planning, that can make sense. That's totally fine. But don't let someone pay a full AUM fee and a planning fee on top of that. You're overpaying for something that should be done with just that 1% fee is ultimately the idea. Now, remember, if you have more assets, if you have $5 million, $10 million or more, well, your AUM fee should not be 1%. It should be lower than that. And so that's something to consider as well. As you have more assets, you need to start challenging that advisor to make sure they're not charging you more than that. So the next type of fee I want to talk about are mutual fund fees. Now, this is one that I think is starting to become more noticeable for many people, but understand that when you pay an advisor a 1% management fee, and then they also charge a 1% fund fee for that mutual fund that you're investing in, your all-in fee is actually 2%. And so, as you can see, that's how these fees can really creep up. And so our advice on that is we don't think that our clients should necessarily be investing in mutual funds. Nothing wrong with mutual funds. I'm not saying mutual funds are bad. I'm saying that if you're paying us a management fee, our goal should be to help you manage that investment in more of an active way. Because that's the whole purpose of a mutual fund, is to manage it in an active way. Well, why are you paying an advisor to actively manage it and a mutual fund manager to actively manage it? You're paying two people to get one man's job done. And so I don't know about you, but that's not a smart business decision. So what we do with our clients, we use stocks, which have no internal expenses. We use ETFs, which have very little internal expenses, to give us that diversification. And then we manage those for them, to making sure we're following market trends, to making sure that we're not just throwing darts and deciding to invest in Apple because Apple's up that day. No, we're actually looking to see, what are the financials saying? Are the financials and balance sheets showing good things for the future, or are they not? And based on those decisions is how we're making those educated, informed decisions of what to invest in. We're never just closing our eyes and picking a stock. It's always very, very, very diligent and intentional of how we invest. And so because of that, we can lower our fees because we're not charging to two different people. And so that's something you really want to be aware of. Another added cost that I've seen, and I've seen at other firms that I've worked with, is what's called a platform cost. And this could be for some third-party person to help with the investment management in some way. And so this could be the AUM fee, could be the platform fee, and could be the mutual fund fee on top of that. And that's what I've seen at a place that I've seen, here locally, here in Columbus, Ohio, that I won't say any names because there's many of them, but you just want to make sure you're aware of those, that fee could really add up over time. And so you really want to make sure you understand how all those play together. And we see a lot of firms that have that type of platform. And so you just want to make sure you really understand what those costs could be. The other thing you want to be aware of when looking at investment options is understanding who that advisor is. So some advisors are only investment only, meaning they're only going to get paid by investing in stocks and bonds and things like that. There's also advisors who are insurance only, who only get compensated through insurance products, which they're not going to have to charge you any of these fees we're talking about because they get a commission through the insurance company. And that's not necessarily anything wrong with that, but I just want you to understand how these two work, right? This one's not going to recommend this because they only do this. This one's not going to recommend this because they only do this, right? So you got to understand how they play together. So what we'd recommend is you work with an advisor who does both, because maybe an insurance product can make sense for you, or maybe it doesn't. But you need someone to just make sure that they're truly fiduciary and can offer whatever is on the marketplace that you may want or need, right? So those are the things that we would advise you of, but also understand that there is some insurance products out there. For example, some type of annuities. There's some really good annuities, there's some really bad annuities, there's some really good annuities for you, there's some really bad annuities for you, and annuities may not make sense for you at all. So it's important to do your due diligence there, but understand that, hey, if you're looking for protection and you want a moderate growth and you want no fee, well, an insurance product could potentially give that to you. So think of like a CD, right? You go to the bank, you get a 5% CD. There's no added costs on top of that come out. So if that's what you're looking for, you could get an insurance product. That advisor could still get compensated to do all that planning, but you're left with not having to pay a management fee on that portion of money. And so I'm not here to try to advocate an annuity. I'm not here trying to advocate an insurance product, because it's all about what's right for you and what do you want to do. But understand that there's viable options out there that you could reduce your all-in fee by doing those types of options if it matches what you're looking for. So just a consideration for you as you look to do your investment planning and choosing what you want to invest your money into. And so when you think about that concept, let's say we had 80% of our money in investments and 20% in an annuity or insurance product that has no fee. Well, you can reduce your fee by 20% because there's no fee on this side, you're only paying on this side. So that would be the consideration for you to think about that concept. But at the end of the day, regardless of anything I've just said, is that it all comes down to, are you getting enough value for the fee that you're paying? And if you don't feel like you're getting enough value for the fee you're paying, you should not work with that advisor, because at the end of the day, This is your money. You've worked hard for it for 40 years. You need to make sure you're making the right decision for you and what's going to be best for your future. And so remember those 5 pillars. If they're doing all those 5 pillars and they're charging about 1 to 1.5% all in, I would tell you you're probably in a really good spot and you should feel really good about the help that you're getting. And then if you have more than $5 million in assets, obviously that fee should be 1% or less, and you should make sure that they're doing all of that planning for you and even more. And if that's the case, then I would say you have a good relationship. But if your advisor's charging 1 to 1.5% or maybe even 2%, which we've seen people come to us with, I would tell you you're probably not getting the right type of advice. And understand too, maybe you're not paying an advisor right now, but maybe you just have that mutual fund we talked about. Maybe you're already paying 1% and you're just not getting any help. Well, I'd say that's just as bad as paying an advisor and management fee if you're already paying it and you're not getting any of the planning help to go with it. So hopefully this video can educate you and help you make informed decisions as you're looking for guidance ongoing. If you are looking for guidance from us and you want to make sure that you're getting that comprehensive type planning, then go ahead in the description below. There's a link that you can actually click on to schedule a time with our team. We're based in Columbus, Ohio, but we do retirement planning for those in or near retirement between the ages of 55 to 70 who have been diligent savers and really want to put everything together, making sure they're not missing anything, and really want to have a focus on the tax planning side of things. So if that's useful for you, feel free to connect, and we'd love to see how we can help. Hope you enjoyed the video today. As an avid viewer of this YouTube channel, we would like to offer you a free copy of our new book that just came out called I Hate Taxes. So if you would like a free copy of this, then go ahead in the description below. You'll be able to click on a link to get that free copy of this new book, I Hate Taxes.